everyone, and welcome back to Never Never Growing Up. I'm Kelsey, one half of Never Never Growing Up. If it is your first time joining us today, then welcome. I hope you enjoyed this video. Me and my fiance John make videos every week about Disney, about stuff that's going on in our life. And if you've been around for a little while, then welcome back. We hope you enjoyed our little Paris, UK trip series. Today, I figured I'd give you a little bit of a wedding update. It's a pretty dreary, rainy day here in New York City today, so I thought what a perfect opportunity to sit down, give you a little bit of an update as to where we're at with our wedding planning, and also talk to you guys about my 5 top tips, what I've learned so far about planning a destination wedding. So hopefully that will be helpful for some of you, either if you're in the planning phase or in the future. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. So I want to start by giving you a little bit of an update with where we're at with our planning process. So if you've been watching our various wedding videos over the last year or so, you may now kind of have been keeping tabs and know that we are just over 6 months away. It's under 200 days now to the wedding. I honestly cannot believe it. It's gone so fast. But the venue is sorted, as you know, as is my dress. So that's being made as we speak. It will still be a few weeks or months before I see it again, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But any day now I could get a call and they could tell me my dress is ready, so I'll have to start going for my fittings. We have found a photographer, a videographer, a DJ. All of those vendors we are super excited about. You know, I'm very happy to say we got our top choices for those vendors. Which was fantastic, and you know, it really benefited us having a venue that was a little bit below the budget that we'd set ourselves, so we could pick who we wanted for our vendors. It's awesome. And the other thing that we figured out is bridesmaids dresses. So I've actually ordered those this week and I'm super happy with how they look. I gave a couple of my bridesmaids the chance to try them on before I ordered anything. And I went with those multi-way style dresses so the girls can like tie them how they want and just make them look awesome and unique and different. So super excited about those. And then, as we sort of alluded to at the end of our Paris trip, we have now sorted out a planning trip for us to be down in Orlando. So if you guys don't know, we are having our wedding in Orlando, Florida. We live in New York City. Our family is all everywhere, so we're having a little bit of a destination wedding in Orlando. So we are going down there in about 3 weeks. We have got a jam-packed itinerary. We are doing a venue visit, we are doing a food tasting, 2 cake tastings, 2 floral consultations, a hair and makeup trial, an engagement shoot, and we've got some time for Disney as well. And this is all happening within the span of like 3 or 4 days. So super excited for that trip and to get on with our planning. But I noticed there are a few things that I've learned throughout this process in planning a destination wedding. So I thought it might be helpful for some of you guys if I went through what that looked like and what this process has been so far. So if you are thinking of having a destination wedding, you kind of get to know all the complications and the sort of considerations that you have in pulling something off when you are thousands of miles away. The heads I've got on my little bride t-shirt that somebody sent to me from Etsy, which I love. It's got a little sunflower on it, and I just thought it would be appropriate for this video. So my very first tip is use a wedding, I guess you could call it like a comparison site, when you're doing your research when it comes to venues and vendors and things like that. So when we were going through the process of picking our venue, we knew we had to fly down to Florida and see a couple of venues. And we used Wedding Wire to really whittle down exactly what we wanted from a venue to come up with a short list of places that we could then get quotes from and book site visits. So when you use a website like Wedding Wire, and I will put in a little screenshot so you can see what I mean, you can sort your venues by category. So if you have your heart set on like a barn wedding or like a winery or something like that, it will come up with a short list for those. You can sort it by availability for the date that you have, also by the maximum capacity, the venue type, and of course the actual location. So I knew I wanted something that had an outdoor space in Orlando, and then I just kind of started whittling down the short list of like the amenities and things like that from there. So that's been super helpful. It was also great to like read the reviews and see photos, so we had a brief idea of what to expect before we went down to Orlando. What we learned though, and you guys will have seen this if you watched our venue tour video, is it is so important to see your venues live, just so that you can get a feel for what it would be like to be there on the wedding day. Because John felt really passionately about the fact we should see it. I was like, you know, we can probably tell what it's like from the photos anyway. I was so wrong. There is so many things that a photo doesn't cover, it doesn't show you. It meant that we got to ask questions from the people touring us around, and we just got to really get a sense of what it would feel like to walk down an aisle in that venue and go from one space to another. If we were going to eat in one area and then dance in another, you get to put yourselves in the shoes of yourself when you're getting married, if that makes sense, by touring a venue and seeing it live and picturing that moment. And it really helped with the decision making. We knew pretty quickly which one of the venues that we saw was the one for us. So definitely recommend seeing it, but check out Wedding Wire, check out The Knot and any other of those comparison sites so you can get a good shortlist put together before you make any trips if you're going to plan a destination wedding. While we're on the topic though of picking venues, what was so important for us and what I would recommend for anybody planning a destination wedding is pick a venue that doesn't require a ton of sprucing up. Pick a venue that you can show up to and have a great time, regardless if nothing is done to it. That was super important to us because we want to enjoy our vacation around the wedding day itself. We don't want to be worrying about DIYs and setting things up, things like that. So our venue is beautiful. Even if we just turn up, don't change anything, leave it completely like it is, I'm pretty confident it's still going to be a really pretty location and we're going to have a great day there. So that's another thing to consider, is how self-contained a venue is when you're picking a venue for a destination wedding. Tip number 2 that I have for you guys is, if your budget allows, work with a planner. One of the first things that I was told when we started thinking about planning our wedding is definitely get a wedding coordinator for the day of the wedding. That way you don't have to be worrying about setting things up, everything will run smoothly, they'll plan the itinerary. So I was shopping around for a wedding coordinator, like a day of type thing, and then we were recommended Rapp of Kristy Rapp Events by one of the venue coordinators of one of the venues we saw, and read her reviews on Wedding Wire again, and she has like all 5-star reviews. So I had a meeting with her, looked at her pricing, and actually the difference between having her just for a day of coordinator and having her plan the whole wedding like from a year out, the difference financially was barely anything. So I was like, okay, let's have a planner. And honestly, Kristy has been absolutely invaluable to us. I'll leave a link to her website in case anyone's planning in the Orlando area and might want to look at that, but she's been fantastic. And while I absolutely believe I could have pulled it off and could have figured out how to plan a wedding myself, as anybody could, she has been invaluable. She's been the best investment so far for a number of reasons. Number 1, she has a whole list of vendor recommendations. She has worked for many years in the industry, knows everybody, and she provided me a list of her favorite vendors, where she can get a discount. So it made it really simple to be like, oh, like photographers, let's just take a look at the ones on her list, look at their style, and it becomes like a process of elimination then that happens much more quickly than if I had to look at every single photographer in the Orlando area. So I feel super confident with the vendors that she recommended and that we have chosen, and subsequent meetings have really compounded that because we're excited about them. Our planner has also put together our itinerary for our trip down there in a couple of weeks, and she did all the vendor reaching out and coordinated that time with them, so we're super appreciative of that. She also has an inventory of wedding stuff that we can use the day of our wedding, which could save us a ton of money. She plans the whole itinerary for the day, and also, like I mentioned, does have an in with the vendors that has been able to get us a number of discounts so far. So if your budget does allow it, then definitely work with a planner. And that's, I guess, important if you have like an a la carte wedding, as I kind of think of it, where you have a venue and then you have to sort of work out all your vendors separately. I know if you have like a Disney wedding, they have on-site planners, so it might not be something to worry about as much. They'll give you one automatically, or some venues do come with planners. But if you are doing it all kind of from scratch, then a planner has proven to us to be invaluable. And if by chance a planner is not in your budget at this time, then cool. My recommendation for that would then be to keep a working list of things to do, vendors to organize, and set yourself mini timelines within which you want to get each of those things ticked off your list, just to keep yourself on track. Otherwise, I can imagine it would get a little bit overwhelming trying to remember to do everything that goes into the wedding planning process. Tip number 3, budget for at least one, if not multiple trips to your wedding location to meet with vendors, to do all the organizational logistical things that go into wedding planning. I expected we'd be able to do a lot of our planning online, and you definitely can, but you also get a certain level of reassurance seeing things live. I love the fact that we are doing like a cake tasting, food tasting, so we know exactly what to expect on the day with that kind of thing. And it's also really fun to have the thought that we'll get to pick out flowers in person and do an engagement shoot, which is something that we hadn't even bet on doing. So I would definitely budget for that, because you don't want to get caught out on having to do trips back and forth unexpectedly, because let's face it, travel is expensive. So we've been using our credit card points for our travel, which has been so great. If anyone's curious, we use American Express, love their travel incentives, so that's awesome. And yeah, we just can't wait to be down there in a couple of weeks to continue with this planning process. Number 4 of my top tips is Pinterest. And this is gonna seem probably like an obvious one, but I have a few reasons why. Pinterest everything. Pinterest all different types of boards for all of your different components of your wedding planning. You can share those with your vendors so that they get an insight into your vision before you meet with them. And that way, if you are short of time when you have a meeting with a vendor and you can't be with them all the time, have several meetings, at least they've got an idea of what you want, how your vision kind of changes and evolves as well. So that's a great reason to do it. The other reason I really recommend it is to keep your family and friends in the loop. That is one of the hardest parts I have found of planning a destination wedding, is kind of feeling like you're doing it alone. Oh, smallest violin in the world, I know. But it's a great way to loop your bridesmaids, your parents, anybody that's interested in your wedding planning into the process. So I just think it's a really nice way to include people in the process and make sure that the people that you want to be aware of the vision, and even have them weigh in. They can put comments, they can like certain things on your boards. It just gives people the opportunity to weigh in with their opinions if you want them. And number 5, probably my top tip for planning a destination wedding in my experience so far, is be ready to relinquish some control in this planning process. Ultimately, you and your fiance, if you're having a destination wedding, will be showing up with a suitcase and hoping for the best. You're not gonna have time to DIY little things and do a homemade DIY style wedding. I mean, if we'd done a local wedding, then I'm sure I would have done much more of that, but you have to be ready to let some of those things go. Just from a practicality sense, you also don't want the stress and the worry of having to think of every single detail. It goes back to having a planner, hiring the right vendors. Ultimately, if you do that, I believe you should be able to trust that things will go smoothly and everything's going to be fine. It's going to come together the way that you want it to. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I guarantee you'll still be having an awesome time with your friends and family that are able to make it to your wedding. The other thing that you can do, and we've recently put this together, is on a wedding website, and there are a bunch of free ones. We ended up going with Zola, but we also looked at the Knot and a couple of others. You can put a schedule of events. So certain things that you will do around the wedding. So for us, we're gonna do like a drinking around the world in Epcot. We're gonna do some welcome drinks, the after party. And the nice thing about that is I've completely relinquished control of anybody coming or not coming by just being like, this is where we're gonna be. Come if you want or don't. So it's like super casual. I don't have to be concerned about reservations, how many people, are they bringing a +1? The only thing that I'm gonna be doing that for is of course the wedding itself, but everything around it, it's just on the website. People can show up if they like, and then ultimately there's no pressure on anybody. People are there to enjoy their vacations and schedule their days however they want to do it. So I think that's going to be really fun. And the website so far has been a great way to communicate the plans to people so that they can start planning and doing what they need to do even in advance of us sending out our actual invitations. And that just brings me to one little bonus tip that I have for you, which is just have fun with the process, with your vacation. That is the beauty of having a destination wedding, is you are on one big vacation, hopefully surrounded by friends and family as well. So do make time for fun. Make sure you've got stuff to do around the wedding itself that makes you happy and lets you relax and just makes you enjoy this whole crazy situation of having a destination wedding, because it is insane. But it can also be super fun, so make time for it and just enjoy yourselves and enjoy this planning process. It is such a wonderful time in our lives, and I'm just trying to soak in every moment because it is going so fast. Can you believe it's been a year since we got engaged? Like since the cruise? Almost just shy of a year. Insane. Anyway, I hope some of you found this helpful and insightful, at least into kind of where we're at and how the planning process can go for a destination wedding. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video. We will definitely be making more planning videos from here on out as we start doing more of the planning of the details. So if you want to see more of that, then please do hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And we will be back next week with another fun video for you all. If you have any tips for me in the planning process or any comments, then please do leave them below. I'm definitely open to hearing any advice, any tips, anything like that. So please share them with me and I will definitely feature them in a future video if there's anything that I end up incorporating. So thank you in advance. Have a wonderful week, you guys, and we will see you real soon. Bye for now.